Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Don't make me laugh.
No, I won't make you laugh, Rhonda. I'm so sorry. Rhonda's mouth is all swollen up from the radiation, and she has a kind of a little tear on the right edge of her lips, and so it only hurts when I laugh. You've heard that.
Right.
That's true for Rhonda, so I promise not to make you laugh today.
I don't know if you're going to keep that promise, but anyway, or if it's possible even to keep that promise. Hi, everyone. This is the Feeling Good podcast, and you're listening to episode 460. We welcome you from around the world and throughout the galaxy to enjoy another Ask David episode. When we recorded this podcast, dear listener, it was not a good day for me. I mentioned in a previous podcast I was treated for lymphoma. I was at the stage where the treatment was completed, but the after effects were going strong. I had terrible sleep, I wasn't eating well, and I was not thinking clearly. In Team CBT, we say it's okay to fail. Give it your best, and let's see where we go. I did that together with David on this recording, and this is not the best I have ever done in a podcast. And you know what? So what? I'm an average person, and I don't need to be perfect. I let go of perfectionism in this podcast, which you can hear for yourself through my many mistakes. I still hope you enjoy the podcast.
Today we're going to have some cool questions, and we really appreciate all of you sending in these neat questions. I just love answering them myself, but we're going to address how do you overcome your fear of happiness? Woo, that's a weird one, huh?
Yeah.
But it does happen, and if you've got that problem, how can you challenge it? And we have a great daily mood log and a positive reframing tool and a lot of ideas for Tomas. And then Ollie asks, how do you motivate a procrastinator? How do you get them to do the hard work of facing the task they've been putting off? And I can tell you, for years, I tried to help procrastinators and found myself getting stuck over and over and over again until I finally found the approach that worked. So we'll reveal the secret of motivating a procrastinator. And then Owen asks a couple really cool technical questions. Do I have to do a full daily mood log every day? And then is it okay to use the positive reframing from a previous daily mood log if it's relevant? And then finally, and oh boy, we'll have fun with this. I don't know if we'll get time to it. If we don't, we'll do it at the top of our next Ask David. But this is another one of those controversial ones. And is friendship a basic human need? And we actually have a live work with somebody next week, the 2-part work with Vandana, who's feeling that friendship is a basic human need, and she doesn't have it, and she's feeling like a distressed outsider. And that's some mind-blowing personal work, another 2-part live personal work that's related right exactly on that topic.
Cool.
So let's start out and turn it over to you, and Rhonda, and then we'll kind of dive in. And you can let me know how you're doing in talking, so I can have you talk more or less depending on your comfort level.
Okay. So this is from Tomas, and he asks, how can I use exposure to overcome my fear of happiness? Hi, David. How would you do exposure for the fear of happiness? Whenever I feel happy, I immediately feel afraid because I had a very strict religious upbringing where many harmless forms of fun and enjoyment were completely forbidden. Even though I'm no longer religious, I'm no longer a religious believer, the fear remains. Feeling good then makes me afraid, anxious, and insomniac. This often goes on for days after something good happens, and it almost seems as if I am being punished after all. How can I recover when feeling good makes me feel so bad? Love your work and all you do. Best regards, Tomas.
Great. This is a wonderful question, and I'll let you take first shot at it if you like, Rhonda, and if you like, you can even read his the wonderful daily mood log he sent. He also sent some positive reframing he did. But let me just say to you, Thomas, that both Rhonda and I are at least somewhat familiar with this problem, because the fear of happiness and pleasure is a kind of a religious belief in some groups, and it can be very intense in some religions where, joyous music is forbidden. And I know when I was young, and in the seventh grade, I recall I started getting invited to parties where they played Spin the Bottle. And, when you spin it, whoever it points at, you get to stand up and go in the closet and kiss that person or something like that. And it's like to get kids involved in, getting used to the excitement of kissing one another. And I remember my mother told me that I could go to the parties, but I wasn't allowed to kiss any of the girls. And she wasn't trying to be mean or anything, but it was just some, leftover Calvinist belief. We were a Lutheran family. My dad was a minister. And so there was some of that. And my favorite movie of all time is Babette's Feast. And if you get a chance to look that up and see it, it's absolutely fantastic. And it's about a little village I think it's in Sweden, or some country that's fairly near to France, in the mid 1800s or early 1800s. And it's about a little village with about 12 families living in it. And they had a guru, religious guru, who, and one of the tenets was you're not allowed to enjoy yourself. That's the cardinal sin. And then it has to do with a beautiful young woman who came with a note to one of the houses, and it was from some high-level army official who said that we would be very indebted to you if you could give Babette a place to stay, because if she stays in France, she'll be killed because of the revolution. And by the way, Babette can cook. And the family initially, says to her, we're just so poor that we can't take you in, because the only thing we can cook is bread soup. I guess that's just a soup made out of water and bread. They're dirt poor in this little village. And she says, I make a wonderful bread soup. And so they take her in, and then what unfolds is both a magnificent and very moving love story, but also it's the story of perhaps the most incredible meal ever prepared.
Wow.
People end up dancing in the moonlight at the end, and it just the movie is so beautiful, it just brings tears to my eyes and to my heart. But at any rate, it's certainly a very real problem. Let me give you first shot at it, and you can read Tomas's daily mood log. I've been corresponding with him a little bit, and glad to throw out a few ideas for you, Tomas.
Well, I was telling you before we got started that I have worked with one person who had this fear too. I looked it up at that time, and there's a name for it. So it's not an uncommon thing. And it often, like you said, is tied into people who come from religiously strict families. And it's, I don't know if it's pronounced chero or cherophobia, where you're afraid of happiness because you're afraid that happiness will lead to negative consequences. And so Tomas's upsetting event is studying mathematics because he really loves studying mathematics. And he has very strong emotions. He's 90% sad, 90% anxious, 80% guilty, 90% inferior, 80% lonely, 60% embarrassed, 90% hopeless, 100% frustrated, and his lowest score is 40% on anger. And he has a lot of negative thoughts, but some of the ones that are the most compelling regarding his fear of happiness are, if I'm happy, I'll be destroyed. I don't deserve to enjoy myself.
Are you looking at his daily mood log?
I'm looking at his negative thoughts, the negative thoughts that came in from his email.
Oh, I see. I'm looking at his daily mood log, which has 10 negative thoughts.
Yeah, that's what I have. That was the third one. If I shouldn't study mathematics, which I enjoy. He believes that 100%.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I'll be
continue.
humiliated and punished. If I'm happy, I'll be destroyed. I don't deserve to enjoy myself and advance in life. If I avoid advancement, then I'll be okay. Intellectual pursuits are dangerous. I should content myself with lowly, dead-end work. I deserve nothing good. I have to be safe and survive at all costs. If I avoid and self-sabotage, then I'll be safe. And
oh, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Those are 10 negative thoughts. Well, before we dive in on maybe how we or you could help yourself, let me just say that it's always tempting to say, what exposure technique should I use to treat this problem? And I always say, I never use a technique to treat a problem. I treat a human being, and if the problem is anxiety, as in this case, the anxiety is intense, but along with many other intensely negative feelings, also in the 90 to 100% range. But with anxiety in particular, I use 4 models of treatment with every single person. I don't throw methods at people as much as everyone says, please give me some methods to throw at my patients, or please give me a method to treat my anxiety. I never give into that misguided, simplistic notion. And I treat everyone with the 4 models. That's the motivational model, and deal with the outcome and process resistance, which is critically important. And then secondly, the cognitive model, which you've started here, which looking at the distorted thoughts. And then there's the exposure model that you're asking about. What experiments could Tomas do to test this belief, and how could he use exposure and response prevention as one tool among many to deal with this problem? And finally, there is the hidden emotion technique, which is always something to consider, particularly when someone is resistant to other treatments for anxiety. Sometimes that will break things open.
And would you say you use all 4 of those models when you work with someone who's anxious?
Yes, I use all 4 with every patient. And as the Buddha said 2,500 years ago, anyone who doesn't is screwed.
You're right.
So I assume you're not talking about yourself, Rhonda, because I've been saying this for at least 20 years, over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, that was my thought when Tomas asked what exposure model, and I thought, well, let's first do a daily mood log and see what his negative thoughts are and what the emotions are that are being guided by those thoughts, or
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
you had emailed him that, and that's where those thoughts and feelings came from that I
Yeah,
just read off.
absolutely. But let's give a little brief overview of how it would work. If we had Tomas here with us in person, then it would unfold in its own direction, and that's always unpredictable. But Tomas, it's a great question, and it does help us show the power and breadth of the team model and the various approaches that are available to you. So the first thing, Tomas is saying he wants to get rid of this really bad stuff, all this anxiety, so he can be free to feel great joy. But when I asked him if he'd press the magic button and make all these negative thoughts and feelings disappear, he said he wouldn't. And do we have his the positive reframing sheet that Tomas sent us? Rhonda. Okay, here's the positive reframing tool, and we can take a look at it together.
Okay, that's great. Wow, did he fill this out?
Yes, and well, I don't think he quite understood the advantages of sadness. And what does the sadness show? Sensitivity. That's true. Should we go through his
Okay.
positive reframing tool? He did his best to look at both the advantages of all of his negative feelings, as well as the second question: what does each of his negative feelings say about him and his core values that's positive or awesome? And he also did it with a couple of his thoughts. So we can go through it together, Rhonda.
Okay.
He said one of the benefits of feeling sad is that the anxiety is crippling me. So I'm having trouble seeing how that's an advantage.
Right. Well, maybe he's saying it's appropriate to feel sad because the anxiety is so crippling.
Yes, and then it certainly shows sensitivity. But what else does it show about him and his core values?
That he wants more out of life. That he wants.
That he wants more to life. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he wants more out of life. He wants to be, he has the goal of being happy. He's not accepting his state of being right now.
Exactly. And does it show his love for life?
Right. Yes.
Does it show his love for other people?
He doesn't really mention other people too much. How does it show his love for other people?
Well, some people think that relations with others is a part of a joyous, happy life.
Yes. That's true. Some people think that. Okay, that makes sense. It shows his love for life and his love for people.
Right. So he kind of missed the boat a little bit.
Right.
Because being sensitive can be a criticism too, or you're overly sensitive. So I think that there's some real beauty, Tomas, in your sadness that it would be helpful to acknowledge.
Right, to go a little deeper.
And if all the feelings went to zero, you said you'd be reluctant to do that. And I can understand that because it's appropriate to feel sad when you're depriving yourself of the full. It's like being at a banquet and starving and feeling you don't have a right to go up to the table and eat, and take, the wonderful food offerings in front of you. And that is very sad and does show something beautiful about you. And then what does he say about the benefits of his anxiety, intense anxiety?
Well, he says safety, so I'm imagining he means that his anxiety is keeping him safe in some ways.
And then what it shows about his core values is that he's cautious. Does it show self-love, Rhonda?
Yes, it shows self-love because he's not willing to put himself in danger.
Is that important?
Yes.
Is that powerful?
Very powerful.
Is that real?
Very real.
Yeah. And what are some benefits of feeling ashamed?
Well, he wrote,
He says the advantage is that he's debilitated, but again, I think he's saying I'm ashamed because I'm debilitated, but I don't see how being debilitated is a benefit. And the reason this is such a good exercise is because it shows that it's really hard for us sometimes to see ourselves, even the good things about our negative feelings, and sometimes others have to help us see it, because some of the things I teach are invisible. And you have to have your eyes opened in a certain way to see them.
Yeah.
What would be some advantages of his shame? Because the shame means others are going to judge me. Mm-hmm. So what are some benefits of the shame?
Well, he's got a strong moral value, doesn't it? It shows
that would be guilt more than shame. Guilt is you're judging yourself, and shame is you're afraid that others are going to judge you. And what's beautiful about being afraid that others are going to judge you, because he said in his emails when he was little, he was bullied. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why or how, but perhaps because when he was a little boy, he had this superior IQ and mathematical ability. Maybe some of the other kids bullied him because of that.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yes.
And then he started not valuing the beautiful parts of who he is as a person because he was being bullied.
Yeah. And that's another beautiful thing, by the way, his sadness. It probably gives him the capacity to be more compassionate to others who have been hurt.
Right. Well, I wonder if there's, bringing this back to, I'm totally off about this, but bringing it back to religion, he said he doesn't have the same beliefs that he did when he was growing up that led to this fear of happiness, but does he doesn't want to hurt other people, and does he still have some strong religious beliefs that in some way he's honoring?
Okay.
Oh no, or maybe that's just totally off.
Yeah, that would be honoring his parents, I guess, if they were the ones who had this belief. Who else is he honoring when he's feeling ashamed?
Well, himself. Isn't it you said that he's worried about himself?
You're ashamed. You're worried about other people.
Yeah. Doesn't he value relationships then?
Yes, it would seem to me that he doesn't want to behave in a way that will cause others to judge him, that will upset other people,
or that will harm other people.
That he wants to be pleasing to others and bring a self to other people that other people will love and appreciate.
Yeah. Maybe he's also saying he doesn't want to take relationships for granted.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then that gets into his core values. What core values does his shame show about him?
That he's protecting himself. He's self-protective.
Yeah, that's like anxiety, but what else does it show?
What other core values? Well, he wants to be loved. He wants to be accepted. He wants to be valued. He wants people to think highly of him.
Are those things positive?
Wanting to be loved? Yes.
Is that powerful?
Yes.
Is that important?
Yes. Really important.
Yeah. So it's kind of getting him to see these things, which he still hasn't seen. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Rhonda?
His positive. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
we're doing a lot.
Taking this as a mechanical exercise, as so many people do, without really seeing what we're driving at,
without feeling it at a deep core level.
Yeah, that's right. And he feels inferior, like 80 or 90% inferior. And the advantage of that is it motivates him to correct the problem.
Right.
But what are 8 or 10 other overwhelming advantages and what it shows about him and his core values?
Well, when people feel inferior, they often also feel humble.
Humble. And is that desirable?
I think it is, because the
Humility?
opposite of humble is conceited or arrogant and
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
narcissistic.
or narcissistic. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to feel humble.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh. And then one of the core values, it says he's honest. And I think that's a great one. He's very honest about his shortcomings.
right. So
In addition to, and he's accountable. He's not like kind of delusional about how awesome he is just because he got this huge IQ.
exactly. And it also isn't it showing like the way he's reaching out to you. He reached out to you and he engaged with you, that he is really,
Yes.
he's open to learning and growing and evolving.
Yeah, yes, and that is that what the inferiority shows, that he's open to learning and growing, or you're just saying
No, I
his
think so,
writing me
because
shows that he's open to learning and growing?
say that again.
Well, you're saying that an advantage of his inferiority is it shows that he's learning and growing.
No, that he's
What
open
I think
to it.
that you were saying was his writing to me and asking for help shows that
Yeah.
he's open to learning and growing.
Right.
But I like to be pretty focused on positive reframing and not just coming in with help, trying to help and trying to say nice things about people.
Yeah. Well, if he wasn't open to growth, then he wouldn't have written to you. If he wasn't searching for answers, he would have just
Right.
been sitting at home suffering.
Sure.
But he's
So those are some
motivated.
benefits of writing and asking for help. I'm not sure those are the benefits of feeling inferior, which is what we're focused on right now. What are some benefits of feeling inferior, and what does feeling inferior show about him that's positive and awesome?
Well, would we go to standards? He has high standards for himself that he's not living up to.
I love that. Yes. That he has high standards for himself. That's terrific, Rhonda.
Okay.
And then what are the benefits? He feels alone and lonely and so forth. What are some benefits of that? He says one benefit is I'm unable to socialize. And again, I don't get it. I don't get what he's trying to say here. And maybe he hasn't seen the obvious, overwhelming benefit of feeling alone and what it shows about him and his core values that's positive and awesome.
Right, because being unable to socialize is not really an advantage.
No.
That's the opposite, actually.
And that's why this is such a great exercise, because, I teach things that are very powerful and very basic, and you do too, Rhonda. And here's a person with a very high IQ, maybe around 200 or 160 or something like that. And he isn't able to see very basic things. And that's a part of his suffering. And what we're trying to do is wake him up from a hypnotic trance, try to open his eyes to see something that's been there all the time. Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the advantages of feeling alone? And what does it say about him that's positive and awesome, and his core values?
He has a yearning for relationships, he has a yearning to be close to people. So that shows he cares deeply about other people, and valuing relationships and desiring deeper, more fulfilling relationships.
Yes, that's right. And in addition, what is telling us that he feels lonely? What does that show about him that's positive and awesome?
That he's telling us he feels lonely?
Yes, isn't he telling us? Telling us it's 80% intense or something like that?
Well,
what does that fact show about him?
He's willing to face this? He's courageous?
I think so.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about him having told you that he's alone and lonely?
How do I feel about him? I feel sad. Mm-hmm. And in another way, I feel grateful that he reached out to you.
I have feelings of liking for him and respect for him. I feel close to him because he tells us these things.
Isn't that an amazing thing that somebody writes to you and engages with you in a few emails, and then we can feel closer to him and respect him? I have a lot of
Right.
respect for him that he brought this up and that he wants to deal with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So those are other benefits of these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so he feels embarrassed. And he says an advantage, the fears are absurd but overwhelming. That's not an advantage to Moss.
No, that's not an advantage.
And the core values, he says, is a social sense, which is true, but it's a formal way of saying something that's actually pretty beautiful. What are some benefits of being embarrassed?
Well, it helps avoid him make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Is it worth being careful about making mistakes in social situations?
It's worth it to a certain extent. He seems to be taking it to an extreme, but to
yeah, that's the point. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
but it's a good thing to realize we can turn people off in social situations, and it doesn't hurt to be a little bit careful about what we're saying, what we're when we're saying it. For example, we train the psychiatric residents at Stanford to be more vulnerable and open with one another, to share their feelings of inadequacy and loneliness in sessions where it's okay to do that, and then they feel much closer to one another.
Mm.
But at the same time, when you go to meet with the department chairman,
right,
you don't sit down and talk like you do with close friends. You want to present yourself in the most positive light, because that's an entirely different system. So there's just some intelligent caution there in feeling a little bit embarrassed and realizing that you want to come across in an appealing way to people, and that shows responsibility. How about his hopelessness? Is there anything good about that? He says one of the benefits is that nothing has worked.
Yeah. Clearly, that's not really a benefit. That's not an advantage. Nothing has worked.
That's just the same as saying I'm hopeless. Nothing has worked.
Well, one time in the Tuesday group, when we were still meeting together, you said hopeless was the hardest feeling to positively reframe. And we came up with this long list of all the good reasons to feel hopeless. And one of them was when you reach rock bottom, you're feeling completely hopeless, the only way you can go is up.
It was never on my list, but that's not a bad one if it resonates.
That wasn't on your list?
With someone. No, the people I've seen of hopeless have never, ever thought the only way to go is up. They always think the only way to go is suicide.
Is completely down.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's more one of those popular, trying to be helpful to people, things that I really kind of resent. Because
okay.
They miss with hopelessness what is really positive and awesome about it, Rhonda. What are some great things about feeling hopeless?
Well, I'm a little afraid to say this, but if you keep your expectations low, then you're going to be less disappointed.
Absolutely. I love that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, sure. There's a wisdom in hopelessness, because Thomas has been stuck with this for years and years, and nothing has changed. And so if he gets his hopes up that David and Rhonda are going to show me the way, and then it doesn't work, then he'll be dashed down to the ground again.
Right.
And what are some other things about hopelessness that are, shows about you and your core values?
Well, he has been struggling a really long time, and he has been having a hard time, and maybe the hopelessness shows that he's taking that struggle and the pain very seriously.
Yes, and he got that one right. He put realistic. It shows that he's realistic. And also shows that he's a critical thinker, that he's not gullible.
How does it show that?
Right? Huh?
How does it show that?
Well, if he's gullible, he says, "Oh yes, Rhonda and David will fix me in one podcast that I'm not even on, and then I'll be fine."
Right.
That would be called gullible.
Right. Okay. I see what you mean.
And it my whole life, to me, what a college education was about was skepticism and critical thinking, and not taking anything at face value and challenging things.
Right.
And then frustration. What's positive about frustration? This is the one, not hopelessness, that was hardest for me to figure out. Hopelessness was the second hardest, and frustration was the hardest.
Oh.
What's so great about frustration? And what are advantages of it? And what does it show about you that's positive and awesome?
Well, to me, when you're frustrated and you keep going, it shows how tenacious and determined you are. Like he hasn't given up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't given up.
It shows you haven't given up, because if you've given up, you won't be frustrated.
Right. You'll just be resigned.
Yeah. Awesome. And so he kind of got this right. He put ambitious and then angry. This might be our only one today because it's,
taking
as
so
I
much
say,
time.
it's
Yeah.
almost kind of unexpected. But I think this is useful for all of our listeners, therapists, and general public, because this positive reframing is so important. And people think it's a simple thing. And this guy's probably one of the smartest guys we've ever worked with. And has a terrible time with it.
Yeah, and you can see I'm struggling too. It's hard. You have to really be open and dig deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something you can learn. It took me many years to figure this out and to stumble across it and to refine it. But it's been one of the most useful tools I've ever created. But like any tool, it has to be used effectively. Even a hammer, you can use it and just hit your thumb by mistake. It's not going to get the nail in, and it's not going to feel very good.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, what's so good about the hammer? It just, practically broke my thumb.
Yeah, it causes pain.
Yeah. So the benefit of anger, he says, I don't feel especially angry. So he's completely missing the boat here.
Yeah. He wrote down only 40% anger. And I wonder, to me, anger can be empowering and show that you're passionate and that you believe in justice or fairness.
Right.
And
that you're willing to stick up for yourself.
Right.
That's what anger shows.
And maybe he needs a little bit more anger.
Yeah, exactly. I was just he took the words right out of my mouth, and he didn't put anything as the core values, but you just mentioned the core values of anger. And I've had a lot of, like, how does he feel toward those people who bullied him when he was a kid? Does he feel, gentle and loving and want to sing Kumbaya with them and hug and, whisper sweet nothings in each other's ears? I
don't think so.
That. For myself, I want to kill them and would enjoy killing them. Now I'll get a bad reputation, but if I do, it'll be well-deserved.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned about it. But he did 2 thoughts. Let's see how he did on these. Positive reframing you can do with thoughts and or feelings.
Well,
if I'm happy.
Go ahead. Yeah. If I'm happy, I'll be destroyed.
Yeah.
And he said that the advantage of that is that it's self-defense. And it shows that he's a survivor.
Well, it shows that he's trying to protect himself. I would say is the advantage, and the core value is that he again would be same as for anxiety, self-love. That he doesn't want to put himself knowingly in danger. And then I deserve nothing good. Avoid stirring up jealousy. Well, I guess that's an advantage. What are some other advantages of saying I deserve nothing good?
Well, he's willing to lower his standards. It can be because before we said he probably has high standards.
He doesn't have to lower his standards because he's already got low standards in terms of happiness.
Yeah.
In terms of wanting things that are good and happy. But telling yourself that you deserve nothing good, what are some benefits of that, Rhonda?
When you tell yourself, I deserve nothing good, again, it's self-protective. And
so that's one advantage.
And
so you're not going to flaunt things in front of people.
Right. So it's his humbleness.
What quality does this show in him that Rhonda also has sometimes? Beautiful quality.
Humbleness.
Oh, does this sound humble?
I mean, there's an element of humbleness to it, isn't it?
And no, it's the essence of humbleness, humility.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing about him, to my way of thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
So on
that
this,
was tough.
Tomas, you might want to redo this a little bit, and then having looked at all the advantages of your negative thoughts and feelings, if you can begin to see them, we've tried to spell them out for you, and then what they show about you and your core values that's positive and awesome. Maybe you could redo the goal column on your daily mood log, and ask yourself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he needs some more help. And you have generously offered the app to people at a very low fee, or I don't know if you're still offering it to people for free, but I would strongly suggest that he go to your Feeling Great app and go to the section on positive reframing and listen to the lesson there and the guidance.
So he should use his own way of using the app rather than as the way we've laid it out in a step-by-step way.
No, no. He should go to the app and use it in a step-by-step way and listen. Don't stop great. Until he goes past the reframe lesson.
In the United States, the only problem is foreign countries can't seem to get access to it yet.
I didn't know he wasn't in the United States. That would be
excellent because it would help him not just with positive reframing. As I say, that's just one of four topics, models. That's half of the motivational model.
Yeah.
And so, but looking at his daily mood log, then we would ask him, since your sadness is, showing some positive things about you, what would be your goal for sadness at the end of our session? How much would there be a lower amount? And you said you didn't want to press the magic button, and we agree with that. But if we had a magic dial, how sad would you want to feel? Would there be some level lower than 90? How anxious would you want to feel? Would there be some level lower than anger, like maybe 10 it would be enough, or 20 would be enough to protect you, and so forth, with all of your negative feelings? And then that would be the outcome resistance aspect. What would be the process resistance aspect? In other words, what does every anxious patient have to be willing to do in order for us to work with them? What do they have to agree with up front?
Well, they have to agree to eventually get to the point where they would do exposure.
Mm-hmm. And what specifically type of exposure would we ask this individual to do?
Well, we would ask him to seek out avenues for happiness. And
to seek avenues for happiness?
Yeah, to do things that would make...
What would make him happy?
Studying mathematics.
Yeah.
So then I would ask him to study mathematics, but he's also talking about relationships. And this is what happened when I worked with the other person. He's avoiding relationships, so I would want to explore his social life and encourage him to go out and do things socially and do the things that make him happy, whatever they are, and see if negative things happen afterwards.
Yeah. Well,
we could also do cognitive exposure.
But he hasn't mentioned any of the things that this is kind of Rhonda's thinking, not his thinking.
Well, he mentioned it in that he's unable to socialize.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. In the positive reframing chart.
Say?
Well, in the positive reframing chart, he said an advantage of being alone is that he's unable to socialize, which is not an advantage. So that led me to think he's not socializing. I mean, that's not a big leap.
Well, I as a rule, I never, read my own thinking into patients. I sometimes do it inadvertently, but it's never, in my experience, a winning strategy. But he's giving us 200% of the answer here, so we don't need to make up new, different things.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's afraid to enjoy mathematics, to study mathematics and enjoy it. And I think you've been great at mathematics. One of your sons is great at mathematics, and I think you've enjoyed mathematics. And you know that I enjoy mathematics, even though I'm not, have a giant mathematical IQ. But I certainly love statistics and structural equation modeling. It's one of the really fun things in my life. And my own humble point of view here is that we would give him assignments to study mathematics and enjoy it maximally, say for an hour a day, or whatever would be a good amount, an enjoyable amount to study mathematics, and then do the experiment and see if awful things happen to you. And would you be willing to do that? That's the process-resistant question, because if you'll use exposure and the experimental method to confront your fears rather than avoiding them, as you've been doing since you've been a little boy, and it's understandable that you'd enjoy it when you touch the hot stove and you pull your hand away. It wouldn't be natural to go and put your hand back on that hot stove. But when you're anxious, the exposure is what you have to do. It's one of the techniques, one of many techniques to overcome this fear. And so would you be willing to set up experiments like that? Another thing that I would personally ask you to do is to fantasize being punished. Who's going to punish you, and make up a fantasy and see if you can make yourself 100% anxious, and then stick with that fantasy for as long as possible and record on a flow sheet, an exposure flow sheet, every minute or two how anxious you are and what fantasy you have that's freaking you out. That's another way to confront your fears. And then you might have to do that for 10 minutes before the anxiety begins to seem ridiculous. I don't know what punishment you'll fantasize, but you can, fantasize being humiliated and punished. Maybe you're in a stadium and all the people are jeering at you because you love math, and you have to stand in the middle and say, I love studying math, and then 10,000 people say, for shame, we judge you, or whatever.
And throw rotten tomatoes at him.
Yeah, you can make up the fantasy, but that would be exposure. And so that would be the motivational and exposure models. And it's a question of whether or not you're willing to do these things. And then you'd have to convince us, the therapist, that you are willing to do them in order for us to work with you. Because although exposure isn't a total treatment, it is a tool in the treatment for every person who's anxious that must be used if you want to get over your anxiety. And then just to bring things along here quickly from the point of view of the cognitive model, we would take these thoughts on your daily mood log, which will be in the show notes, like I'll be humiliated and punished. And let's say or if I'm happy, I'll be destroyed. Let's say you want to work on that one first. And what are the distortions in that thought would be our first questions. And what ones do you see, Rhonda?
I'm sorry, which thought? If I'm
Yes,
happy, I'll
he
be
wants to
destroyed.
work on number 3.
Yeah.
And we've done the positive reframing, and he has new goals for all of his negative feelings, and he's
Yeah.
willing to do the exposure and so forth.
That's a
But
gross
he has the
overgeneralization.
thought, if I'm happy, I'll be destroyed. And he believes that 100%. He believes all his thoughts 100%. What are the distortions in that thought?
Overgeneralization.
Okay, and then explain why it's an overgeneralization. That's a great call. Yeah.
Because he's taking perhaps one moment that happened, perhaps when he was a kid, when he was bullied, and he's extending that to every single moment in his life. Sometimes people do take small events and blow them out of proportion. And that's
And you
part
think,
of also.
that's what he's doing? You think bullying is a small event?
No, I don't think bullying is a small event, but I don't know him and we don't know his entire story. So maybe there are other moments that he's blowing out of proportion. And I don't know. I'm embarrassed and I don't want the focus to be on me, but I'm doing a horrible job of supporting you and him.
Oh, well, I think what you're doing is valuable because it's like focusing or you thinking in a little more sharply. It was brilliant to say overgeneralization, but during the empathy phase, I'd be asking him to talk about those times and to share his feelings and to cry and let us know how horrible it was. And I can imagine that he really was bullied and it really was terrifying and he really was hurt and threatened. But the overgeneralization that you so wisely pointed out, Rhonda, is that he's thinking now the world is just the same as it was then. And so every time I'm happy, I'm going to be destroyed or humiliated and punished. And that's why it's an overgeneralization, and why the overgeneralization is distorted and not really valid in this thought. And then the other question is, when we're doing explain the distortions, is why is it unfair for him to be involved in this distortion? Why is he being unfair to himself?
Because he's not giving himself a chance of living in the moment and letting go of the past and just seeing what could happen right now today.
Yes, that's right. Now, here's a thought question for you, Rhonda. He's afraid of being bullied, isn't he?
Yes. Is he?
And is he being bullied?
He is being bullied by himself. He's clearly bullying himself. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the thing he needs to see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're working on in the cognitive model. And what are some other distortions? And if I'm happy, I'll be destroyed.
I'm guessing all of them. It's all or nothing thinking, because if there's no room for shades of gray, if I am happy, I will always be destroyed. There's nothing else in between. So it's either always unhappy, always destroyed.
Yeah.
And there's so many more options and shades of gray within there.
Yeah. That's cool. What else is it?
I think it's magnification and minimization. So he's magnifying the possibility of being destroyed, and he's minimizing the opportunity to be happy.
Right. Mm-hmm. And he's magnifying the danger, right?
Right.
And magnification is always present in anxiety. You're taking some real danger and magnifying it. I had a similar experience myself, to tell you the truth, Rhonda.
You did?
When I got Feeling Good published, I was ecstatic because it was almost impossible to get it published. And when it was finally published, I was just really happy. And I remember having dinner in Ardmore with Melanie, and thinking to myself, boy, I'm just so happy about the fact that this book is published. And I wonder if I'm putting myself in danger. And it seemed, a little far-fetched. but I was alarmed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned out that I was putting myself in danger.
Because you became the target of people's criticisms who disagreed with you?
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
not who disagreed with me, but who were angry with me. And that
Mm-hmm.
turned out to be Aaron Beck. He loved my book as long as it wasn't selling very well,
Mm-hmm.
feeling good. And
Yeah.
that was the case for at the beginning because the publishers didn't believe in it and I didn't get any publicity. And they printed, a few thousand copies at a time and then it would sell out and they'd print a few more. But once it began to sell and began to dawn on people how helpful it was. And then I started getting invited to be on some TV shows and radio shows. And then all of a sudden I became an object of derision and hatred of Aaron Beck.
Wow.
And it was, he created, and tried to create, told me he was going to create problems for me.
So it did create danger for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so there is some truth in this. But at the same time, my going my separate ways from Aaron Beck was a great thing that happened because although I felt very ashamed and a great loss initially, eventually I began to realize that, even though he hated me, a lot of other people didn't. And I learned, met Rhonda and so many people who I've had the chance, Jill, and so many people I've had the chance to work with and to create my own approach, which
Right.
I think is superior to what he created. But I'll always be grateful for what I learned from him. But I also learned about him as I became successful, and what I saw what wasn't very pleasant. It was very painful.
Yeah.
So, there's some truth in this, but it's magnification and minimization. That's the issue here. And so we want Thomas to respect his fear as to a certain extent, but be willing to lower it. How much anxiety does he need to be safe? And so we could go through many more distortions. It's fortune telling, it's emotional reasoning, it's a hidden should statement. It's labeling. I'll be destroyed.
Yeah.
Sounds like an atomic submarine's going to put a nuclear bomb down his chimney,
right?
And so forth. And then if we were to use externalization of voices to challenge this thought, how would we do that, Rhonda?
Well, I was wondering first, do you think that he has enough compassion that he could do a double standard technique before we did externalization of voices?
That would be a great choice. Let's just mention the techniques: the externalization of voices, the double standard, the acceptance paradox, the self-defense paradigm, the counterattack technique, the downward arrow technique.
Examine the evidence.
Examine the evidence. How about the semantic technique?
Mm-hmm.
We could develop a recovery circle and come up with 15 ways of challenging challenges. So the experimental technique.
Right, which you already mentioned. Exactly.
Like that would be in the exposure category.
Right.
There'd be a lot of exposure techniques on the recovery circle. And, of course, explain the distortions and empathy. And we could also do a cost-benefit analysis of this thought, or paradoxical cost-benefit analysis. Should we demonstrate the externalization of voices or the double standard?
Sure.
Which one do you prefer?
Do you want? Let's do externalization of voices.
Okay. Do you want to be the negative or Tomas or the positive Tomas?
The negative.
Okay. You hit me with it.
Well, I just want to point out that you are Tomas and I am Tomas, right? And I'm the positive Tomas, you're the negative Tomas. And so I'm going to say, Tomas, I'm sorry to tell you this, but the reality is, if you're happy, you're going to be destroyed.
No, I don't think that's right. Happiness is not my problem. I've got another much worse problem than that.
What's that?
Listening to your BS, constantly putting me down, constantly belittling me. That's the problem. And you've gotten the better of me for a couple of decades now, maybe more. And I'm not going to let you get away with that any longer. And I'm going to start allowing myself to be happy, and I'm going to start living my life. And it's going to be scary at first, and it'll take courage, but that's what I'm going to do. And so you can follow the advice of the Buddha 2,500 years ago.
Well, what's that?
Stick it. Stick it where the sun don't shine.
Right. I love that Buddha.
Yeah.
The David Burns version.
Who won that?
You won that hugely.
Huge.
Yeah.
And then I would do
because I think you hit
reversal.
the point right on the head where you said the problem is really the belittling and the bullying and the internalized bully, the internalized critic.
Right.
That's really his problem.
Yeah. So this is just the tip of the iceberg on the cognitive techniques, which are very powerful and nearly always and foolishly neglected by those who treat anxiety, thinking exposure is everything, which it isn't. But it's important, but it's not everything. And then finally, we would want to consider, and I'll quit now, but just mention it in passing, the hidden emotion model. There might be things that, Tomas, that you're overlooking. If you read the book When Panic Attacks, it talks about the hidden emotion model. And sometimes the people who get anxious are the nicest people. And it's because there's some other problem or problems in your life that you're not attending to. And I have no idea what they are. But if you use the Feeling Good app, there's a beautiful class on the hidden emotion technique. And the Feeling Great app. And it's free all summer. And so it's a tremendous opportunity if you're, in the United States to get that additional self-help tool, the Feeling Great app. And you can learn all about the hidden emotion technique, but the essence of it is there might be somebody you're upset with, angry with, some issue about where you live or your career or your personal life, something with a friend or a family member, and often people who obsess a lot and check out of life, it's because there's something real in their life that is upsetting to them that they're not dealing with. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of a psychodynamic idea, but it's also a very practical and helpful idea. And that would be worth exploring as well. And so this gives you then today an overview of the fear of happiness, but this could be the same approach systematically to any kind of fear. And we start out the session with empathy and find out how upset you are. And we know that these things are very upset. And then we would have you talk about the bullying and let you know how sad we are because of what you've gone through and acknowledge the feelings and the hurt and the anxiety, the loneliness that you're struggling with, which are so intense. And then if we get an A on empathy, or I get an A on empathy, I go on to the paradoxical agenda setting or assessment of resistance and help you, as we did today with the positive reframing chart, and to see what's beautiful in these negative thoughts and feelings and set a goal for each feeling. And then we could use the cognitive techniques to take these thoughts one at a time and do not only identify the distortions, but explain the distortions and use other techniques as well to get to positive thoughts that are both 100% true and that reduce the belief in the negative thought to zero or nearly to zero. And get that at the gut level. Not just intellectually, but through a technique, perhaps like externalization of voices or double standard role play technique. And then finally, the blow away all these negative thoughts, and then consider also the hidden emotion technique, and remembering that the Feeling Great app is available and free by a decision we made at the Feeling Great Corporation to give it to everyone for free, because we want people to have a chance to learn these things. And you'll get a really excellent treatment in the deep dive available right now today on our Feeling Great app. And if any of you listeners or therapists, or if you're struggling with your own problems, if you're a therapist, refer your patients to the Feeling Great app. They can get it for free for a couple of months here. And if you're struggling, you might want to try it yourself. So, Rhonda, I hope I wasn't too hard on you, but I love you, and I appreciate your humanness and helping us see that it isn't easy to get some of these concepts that even someone as experienced and as intelligent as you can sometimes kind of not see it. And that's valuable, because I don't want, therapists or patients to think these techniques are overly easy or overly simple. They're not overly difficult, but they have to be taken seriously, because we're asking you to see things, and that once you see them, they can change your life. And it's a little like Buddhism. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha was trying to get people to see things that would bring them to a state of enlightenment, things that were hard for them to see, hard for them to grasp. But once you grasp it, it's tremendously liberating. But the most practical thing is, Rhonda, we're so glad to have you back, and we're so proud of you for enduring this horrific cancer treatment with radiation, and we're so happy that the prognosis for full recovery is super high, and we just welcome you back, and thank you for giving of yourself.
Hope people all along give me the feedback that when I make mistakes, it helps listeners realize that it's complicated and it's hard. So I'm happy to make the mistakes today and show that, that's why I referred Tomas to the app if he lives in the United States, because it is really helpful to have some support through this process. Sometimes it's not intuitive in some ways.
Yeah, it's anti-intuitive in many ways.
Right.
It's paradoxical.
Yeah, it's super paradoxical.
That's where it gets its power. So we hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and we look forward to another Ask David episode when Matt May is back. So you've gone with us on our voyage with Rhonda, and we're so indebted to you too, Rhonda, for sharing of yourself in the last couple of podcasts. And I'm sure you touched millions of people. I'll probably be killed for being, putting you through the. No,
you did the right thing, and I'm not going to make any excuses. You did the right thing, and I wasn't on my best form, but that's okay. And I don't want you to be killed, because you have important points to make, and you made them. And I hope that Tomas and everyone else listening to this can get something out of it, and I think that they will.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, and we love you all, and we'll see you next week for another great adventure.
Okay.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.